What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of Tech in 30, where we introduce the best and brightest in the tech space in the contracting world. Super pumped up to have my friend here, Weston, on from SynkedUp, which is a very, very cool estimating and job tracking application. Weston, man, pumped up to have you on, man. I'd love to start off just by yourself introducing yourself here.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me on. Enjoyed the short time we've known each other. Just talking shop.
Absolutely.
So I live in central Pennsylvania, right in the Appalachian Mountains between Pittsburgh and Harrisburg. And I grew up here and was working for a company called Tussey Landscaping most of my life, really. Like before SynkedUp, that's pretty much all I did. I started working there at that company as just a laborer on the crew at 16 years old. That was back in 2007, and grew through. I really enjoyed working at that company. Grew through that company. Started doing Eventually became a crew lead and did a lot of really high end outdoor living projects and water feature builds. We actually even built a water feature for Shaquille O'Neal at his house down in Georgia.
Hey, that's sick, man. That's cool.
Yeah,
That's sweet.
bureaucracy. But anyway, I also got into I'm gonna keep this short intentionally. There's a lot to click I could click into, but I got into the marketing side of promoting Tessie Landscaping, and then essentially I held two full-time roles. I was leading a crew out in the field, and I was doing all the marketing for the company as well, with social media, content, website, all of that stuff. And I kind of through that I got closer and closer to the leadership team at Tessie Landscaping. The company was growing, and through just I guess the focus on solving problems didn't really stop there with the marketing. Like we were also looking at things operationally. And so I was the one that kind of got us onto our first software product and maxed out what it could do for us. Went to the next one and kind of maxed out, there was challenges there. How I got into starting a software company was my dad sold a telecommunications company. He went to go work for that company. And that company had a software development division. And in the middle of this season at Tussey Landscaping, when I was trying to streamline the operations of how we utilize software and systems inside of Tussey Landscaping, I came home from work one day and dad was sitting on the back patio clicking around on some grass on his laptop. And I was curious and I leaned in. They're like, "What are you doing?" And he's like, "Oh, I'm just testing a software project." And I was like, "Light bulb, you're saying you just build stuff as you want it to be?" Very naive light bulb, but that's how I got started.
Cool.
And I was an employee. I had no money, so I went back to the owners of Taxi Landscaping. I was like, "Hey guys, like let's create our own solution. Like there's nothing on the market that does what we're trying to do in one system. Let's build it ourselves." That's how we got started. And it's a sheer miracle that here we are still, now running a profitable SaaS company bootstrapped. That is, there's so many ways that startups fail. More familiar, like, yeah. When looking back, I can't believe that we actually pulled that part of it off. Like, it should
No.
have failed in so many different ways. But that's how I came from running a crew on a landscaping company in the hills of Pennsylvania to running a tech company.
Let's go, man. No, that's sweet, man. I always find too chatting with guys, man, and different products and softwares out there. I find like the best ones that are doing well and that really have the biggest impact for contractors are ones that came very similar, man, like grassroots. Like this is something that you noticed while you were working that you needed there. And it's cool too that you got to experience all these other different SaaS products until you were like that, that light bulb moment there with your dad, like, okay, I can actually like build something custom to me. And then I'm gonna ask you about this in a second, but I can only imagine like during that ideation and creation process of you guys trying to build something for your current landscaping company, it must
Yeah,
have been like, shit, man, like this could work for a lot of
yeah,
people. So can you
yeah.
kind of dive in a little bit, Weston, man? So you talked about that idea moment, that light bulb moment. What happened after that? Like tell me a little bit about like the ideation, the creation, and then, switching to like I can actually create a full business out of just this software.
Yeah. In the very beginning, it definitely was we can build something to solve our own problem, like build something custom for us, which actually, knowing what I know now, I am way more leery of that as being an actual solution that I would encourage businesses to go
Yeah,
down.
big
Just
time.
because it costs millions of dollars to build quality software. The apps that we use on a daily basis literally cost millions, sometimes even hundreds of millions of dollars to get to that point where it's a pleasure to use. It's an easy user experience. So the bridge between, "Oh, I'm going to build something custom for myself," and actually like what you think you have in your head when you're saying that, it's a really big gap. So know what you're saying before you start saying, "I'm going to go do something custom." Like to
Yeah.
me, you probably are going to need to be 20, 30, 40 million in revenue before it starts. Because you need full-time people. It's like just spinning up another whole team in your business to do this. This
Yeah, big time.
happened on the side. It's somebody's full-time job, multiple people's full-time job to do this.
100%.
But it said, to answer your question, what happened is I mentioned that we were doing water features and we would go to Aquascape. Aquascape was the manufacturer we used for our water feature products. And we would go to their annual events every year in Chicago. And we won Artist of the Year, which is one of the awards they give out in 2017. So we kind of got a bit of a network going there in the water feature contractor space, which gave me kind of this awareness of like these other companies trying to do the same thing we're trying to do. And that was where, yeah, at first it was just a light bulb of let's solve our own problem. But literally the fast follow thought on that was this problem is not unique to us. This problem being like, how do I make sure that I'm charging the correct rates? How can I track my jobs? Like that's a problem. That's a business problem that any contractor needs to be on top of. And so, yeah, I kind of had this like realization that this is not unique to us. We should build this for the industry. We should turn this into a product for other contractors to use. And I had a little bit of a I had to win the rest of the team over to that idea because building something for yourself and building something for the market are two completely different things.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And again, I know I've said it already, but I was naive. I didn't know what I was saying that. Uh, but anyway, that's how the vision started. And so we started building with the plan in mind to eventually take this to the market. But we built for 4 years before we even got the first other company to use it as a
Yeah.
test. Yeah. And even as you got those first couple handful of companies to use it as beta users, like it was just like, I mean, call it like, I don't know if you ever heard the term vaporware. Like it's like, yeah, it works, but there's a lot of, it's minimum viable product. Like there's a lot
Yeah,
of house of cards,
for sure.
you can break it, all those kinds of things.
Yeah.
But we kept, incessantly like working at it. And at this time, I was running a crew in Tyson Landscaping, probably 45 to 50 hours a week, still continuing doing the design build process. I was also running all the marketing and social media. And so a weekly YouTube video, daily content, and I was also leading out this software development project. And so, yeah,
It's
there
full
was a
time,
couple of
man. That's a
years
full.
there it was insane, man. Like I was getting up at 4 in the morning, working for a couple hours before I'd head off to the shop, come home at the end of the day, and then just work until I ran
Yeah,
out of steam and then rinse and repeat,
for sure.
there was 2 or 3 years there where yeah, I was breaking the 100-hour work weeks.
Yeah, no, I imagine. Absolutely, man. It's easy, man. That's juggling like three different things there in one.
Yeah.
Those aren't small time tasks either, man.
Yeah. But it's been an absolutely phenomenal journey. Like it's super rewarding. Like what we do for contractors, it's super rewarding to sign on a new customer and watch the pieces fall into place and watch the impact kind of perpetrate out throughout their business and change their business and change in some cases, kind of feels like it changes their lives because they can get their time back or they are installing better processes or get better control of their profitability in their company. Like, so it's a super rewarding journey to be on.
Absolutely, man. And like that's sick to say too, man. Like 4 years is a lot of time, and like it gives you a lot of time to refine the product. But at the same time, man, like you're juggling like 100 different things, man. I imagine you had a pretty good solid team behind you in terms of like developers, man. Like when it comes to the learning phase within those 4 years, especially when you got like your first client or like first person to actually use it, more like some of those learning goals or learnings that you kind of realize, like, okay, now someone else is using it. More some of the things that maybe surprised you, worked as good
Yeah.
as you thought, man. Like, how was getting your first person on the platform?
That is a really good question because one of the things that I was not aware of was I did not have the perspective to discern between the things that truly were unique to the way that we thought about our business at Tussie Landscaping versus like things that were just universally true for all contractors, right?
Yeah,
And so, because of that lack of perspective or that lack of awareness, there were things that were very specific to Tussie Landscaping that got hard coded into the product, which then we had to unravel and redo. Yeah. So thinking we were thinking we were right, or saying said another way, not being aware of the things that were unique to us as a company and doesn't work for, serving contractors at scale I mean, that just that lack of awareness and that getting kind of manifested into the product itself cost us millions of dollars to unravel and redo correctly. Like, so the lesson in that for me was you're wrong a lot,
For sure.
and and always be suspicious of your own assumptions or your own opinions. Like, go sanity check. Data is the only thing. I love the quote, "In God we trust. All others bring data."
Okay, cool. There we go. Yeah, I like that. That's percent.
Yeah. So yeah, and that's a lesson that I'm still learning to this day, honestly. Like, it's the dichotomy between trusting your gut and being suspicious of your own assumptions.
Absolutely, man. No, 100% there. And I think like even when we do like websites and marketing for guys there, like one thing we even tell when they're giving us content or giving us, anything for the site there is like, we do stuff for landscaping. People do landscaping 100 different ways. I need to make sure that I get the right information so it's how you actually do it. So, at first when we released it, we're thinking like, okay, yeah, this is the same thing, same problem for every person. There's general problems that are synonymous across the industry, but people do things a million different ways. And I can only imagine, especially building a software where things need to be very specific, like trying to find like that first perfect, almost one size fits all, while still making sure that you have like the closeness of the solution that's doing well for each
Yeah.
individual person on there, man. So,
Yeah, because the more in product design, in software product design, the more flexible you make the product to support various use cases, that means the more controls and switches and options and drop downs you have to inject, which complicates the workflow, which starts making it feel like a jet cockpit
yeah,
instead of an iPad, you
yeah, yeah,
know.
big time.
And in so there's that all in every product design, in every product SaaS product that's out there in the market. Whoever's managing the product has to decide what persona of user are you serving. Are you serving the user that just wants it to be like a Tesla where you just hit a button, it self drives, or do you want to be a jet cockpit where you have full control?
Sure.
And so that's the balance that we've probably struggled with the most, is building in the flexibility because there are legitimate use cases for things versus like automating streamlined workflows, making it super easy to use because, these owner operator contractors that we serve are half the time running their businesses from their truck seat.
Yeah,
And if you have too heavy of a product, it's just like, . I'm not going to do this.
absolutely. Big time.
And I love Elon Musk quote on, 80% engineers love to spend, I forget how he said it, I'm butchering it, but something along the lines of 80% of the time we're optimizing things that shouldn't even exist.
Say a word. Yeah, 100%, man. Big time. Yeah,
Yeah.
there
And
you
so
go.
are we optimizing a sinking boat,
Yeah,
or are we optimizing something that can just dramatically streamline, help the end user?
100%. I think that's like a cool balance to like look at too, man. Like that's a common theme I think that comes up on here a lot is, not only is like the feature going to be super useful because it's awesome to have features that are very useful. More importantly is the adoption part of it. Like our contractor is going to be able to adopt this. And I think, chatting with a lot of guys in the industry, that's what scares people off software sometimes is that it's a big change. A lot of these guys
Yep.
are still using pen and paper,
Yep.
very, very old school traditional methods. For SynkedUp here, like how did you guys kind of look at, just making sure that this platform was easy to adopt, whether it be via support people that you have with them, an onboarding process? Like how did you guys get over that hurdle of adoption?
Well, speaking candidly, I would say that when we went to the market, it was very hard to onboard because we had built everything in the perspective of a running company like Tussie Landscaping, not really in the perspective of what does it look like to a brand new user that's never seen this screen before.
Yeah,
And so because of that, it kind of forced us to have a very hands-on white glove onboarding experience. And so we kind of tried to take the practice. We literally, turned our Achilles heel into our leverage, meaning we knew it was hard to onboard, so we actually leaned into that and said, "Look, we're going to do white glove onboarding services," which which what we found is users really appreciated that, and it turned into a lot bigger of a conversation than just, help me set up this software, turn into like business optimization, process optimization, sanity checking. It gets into some of the mindset stuff like, well, nobody's going to buy it at that price. Like, why do you say that? You know, like it turns into all those kinds of conversations as well. So yeah, we kind of ended up building a real community because of that. And so today we have a, you know, strong community, a solid Facebook group with some fantastic, you know, contributions being made in there every week of people just sharing nuggets of information. But anyway, now as we mature as a SaaS company, it's like, okay, let's go back to the drawing board and let's re-engineer this process from an onboarding perspective with true product design. Like about a year ago, a little more than a year ago, actually, we started working with an actual professional user experience designer, and that's been a game changer, man.
Hey
Like
man, let's
it's
go.
that part of our product design is so integral to our process now that I can't imagine how we did it before we had that. Like it's science
Big fan.
and borderline psychology. It's like, because to
Absolutely.
your point about it's only about what people are going to adopt and use.
Yeah.
And if a confused mind will do nothing, you know, so or too much information equals overwhelm or confuse.
Absolutely. And guys on the field too, like if they don't get it within a short period of time, if the hand's not being held, they'll just say, fuck it, man. I'm not
Yes,
using this, you know? So
yes.
no, 100% important on that side, man. So
Yeah. So it's exciting. I'm super jazzed for the next 2 or 3 years because I feel like we finally got the critical mass producing the cash flow to hire the team to build true polished world-class products.
awesome, man. Sweet, man. So let's talk about the product itself, man. Let's
Yeah.
talk about like SynkedUp, man. Obviously, again, like in terms of like those forefront features, it's very much in the job costing, job tracking aspect. Can you kind of dive into that and like why SynkedUp is doing this better than anyone else there, man? Like I go through your website and it looks bang on in terms of what you guys are offering. So maybe yeah, just like kind of like an in-depth little overview just on that specific feature, I think would be helpful.
Sure. So before you want me to share my screen?
We'll do that afterwards,
Do
man.
that
Then like
afterward. Yeah.
just do
Okay.
like
So
high
yeah.
level, you know?
So high level, in principle, you could use any. I mean, there's dozens of software products on the market for contractors, and you
For
can use
sure.
any one of them and get some benefit out of it, right? But the main differentiator between SynkedUp is we don't just care that you're getting the work and doing the work. We care that you're like the problem we're solving is that you estimate it profitably, and B, that you track the job to make sure that your estimating was on point. And here's what I mean by that. A lot of I'll use a scenario to kind of make the point. A lot of contractors will get started saying they look to the left and they're like, well, the cheaper guy, I mean, the less experienced guy in town is cheaper is there, and the more experienced company in town is up there, like 150 bucks an hour or whatever. And so I'll just kind of like land myself in the middle, and you kind of like arrive at what you're going to charge for your services based on what you think you're worth, which is not a mathematical calculation,
For
right?
sure.
And then in the meantime, that might be okay in the beginning. You might be cash flowing, but then in the meantime, you're growing, you're hiring people, you're buying equipment and trucks, you're buying tools and subscriptions, you're building a business. You have the
Yeah.
infrastructure of a business. And when that happens, typically what happens in this journey that I'm painting out, typically the hourly rate stays right where it's always been. Or if it's like, well, everybody else is going up, I'll go up a little bit too. Yeah, but it's
Sure.
still it's disconnected from what it actually costs you to be in business.
And very like reactive too at the same time.
Yes. And because there's no clarity, when you get pushback on your proposals, it's like, well, yeah, I'll just knock a little bit off because you don't know. So what we fix with that is in SynkedUp, there's a screen where you plug in every expense that your business has, like every piece of equipment, every employee, every like marketing expense, insurance, like literally every if your business spends it, it's in there.
Yeah.
And then what it does with that is it reverse engineers what you would need to charge per hour to not only cover the cost of the person working, but also recover all of the overhead indirect expenses that you have in your business plus your profit. So cost plus overhead plus profit, it calculates that out to say this is what you need to charge, like $94.37 or
Yeah.
per hour. And if you add a new subscription, guess what? Bam, it goes up a few cents. If you cut a cost, it's a mathematical equation. So now that we have a true understanding of your direct costs and overhead costs, now you go over to estimating and you just drag and drop in templates of your products. Like say you build patios, you drag in a template of your patio estimating template. You just pop in the measurements and it calculates the hours you need, the product that you need based on your own production rates. So that now you have a list of resources like labor, material, and equipment in that estimate. But then on those resources, the software also knows what you pay for them, how much you have to mark them up to break even. Then you add your profit and then what your customer has to pay. So all you do is drag and drop in a template, type in some measurements, and bam, you've got a price right there at your fingertips that is calculated based on your cost of being in business.
For sure.
So as you expand and grow and build your infrastructure in your company, you move to another shop and now it's more expensive or whatever, your rates are always locked in, dialed in, and it's not an emotional formula anymore. On the flip side, you could still be losing money even after you did all of that. And here's how. So I got all the math right, yes, but what I don't yet know at the time of signing that job is, did I estimate it correctly in terms of like hours and material? Like I could have estimated it for 100 hours, but it takes me 120. So even though done all this under the behind the scenes work, I could still be losing money, and I call that missing the mark on the resources
For sure.
in the estimate. And so what SynkedUp does then is it tracks, like there's a mobile app for tracking your time, tracking your materials, tracking everything on the job in real time. So you have real time visibility and like, hey, you've consumed 78% of your hours on this job so
Yeah.
far.
Like, are we on
You know,
track? Cool.
yes.
Big
And
time.
so then when the dust settles and the job is done, you can go back and look at, did I underbid, overbid anything on this job? And if I might say, dude, that's the third time in a row that I've underbid labor on this kind of work. I'm going to go tweak my template and fix it for the future. So we call that solving both the rates problem and the resources problem. Like the rates problem is everything I was saying about your overhead expenses. The resources problem is saying, hey, if you bid that job for 100 hours, does it actually take 100 hours or does it take more or less?
That's cool, man. I think too, man, like there's such a benefit for especially what we see with guys who are in the verge of turning their one man, two man, three man shop into a full like actual scale business. I need to start thinking about hiring salespeople, more laborers, whatever. One problem I find that happens a lot is, these guys are quoting and estimating stuff based off numbers that they know in their head, and they're typically right a lot of the times, right or wrong for more or less. But when it comes to training, like more estimators or salespeople. It's
Yeah.
very tough to train intuition because
You
that's
can't.
like,
Yeah, it's in your head.
you've been doing that for exactly, you've been doing it in your head for whatever, 15, 20 years. And when you start trying to train someone, there's no SOP, there's no anything other than trying to like basically teach a guy over some beers and having him come on the job site for you. So I think that's huge, man, and like puts a lot of power back into the contractor's hands where, if again someone's a little bit sticky on the price, you know where you can negotiate, you know where you can actually move things around rather than being like, yeah, like I'll slap a couple $100 off because it should be
Yeah.
fine there, man. So that's sick, man. Before we even dive into the main aspect here, like for a little peek here for the audience in terms of what the platform looks like. I know those are the two primary features. Like what other things do you find like contractors are really liking on your platform outside of those two main feature aspects there? I see that you have a lot of different options there too. What are some other?
Yeah. Probably one of the bigger ones is, this is why we call it synced up, the synchronization between the back office teams and the front field teams. Like,
Okay, cool.
so for instance, like a salesperson might sit in their office and create all this estimate. There's all this information about this job that they created to generate the estimate. And then that is immediately available to the team out in the field. And so there's scheduling and routing pieces as well. So like the idea of the crew member out in the field just being able to open up their phone and know exactly where they're supposed to go. There's your schedule. There's all the details about the job. The material lists are there. The pictures are there. All the different work areas are there. The hours are there. I know everything's there. And then I just like clock in and out and track my time. That's it. And so aside from just the financial pieces of making sure you're being profitable, just the communication and the access to information from back of office to front field and vice versa. Like when the team is out there clocking out and tracking their hours, like the team back in the office is like, oh, cool. I can see
Everything
everything
they
in real
need.
time.
Let's go.
Yeah, it's huge. And we integrate with QuickBooks, so all of your invoicing data flows over to QuickBooks
Nice.
seamlessly.
Cool.
So that's very like they're and also the proposals feature makes it that it's very easy for a contractor to put on a very professional presence with that proposal.
Yep.
And one of the things that actually was super easy to build, but is generates a lot of value for the end user is the optional line items on that proposal. Because when you open a synced up proposal, what it does is, let's say you have, I don't know, 8 different line items on that proposal, like the patio, the fire feature, the lighting, all of that different stuff, right? When you first open that synced up proposal, every option is turned off. So the total at the bottom is showing zero.
Mhm.
And then the client is like on, like, turning that one on, turning this one on, turning that one back off, and and what I've observed is it puts the customer, like the contract,
Yeah.
into the like psychologically, there's a shift. Instead of the customer feeling like they're being sold to and they have to say no
Yeah.
to this or it's there, it puts them into a buying and choosing
Yeah.
and selecting mindset.
Cool.
And they get to kind of like you go onto a vehicle website, you build out your truck,
For
you know,
sure.
like it's the same thing.
Big time.
And it's also very nice because it eliminates a lot of back and forth with between the contractor and the customer because the contractor can just put on options A, B, and C and let the customer pick
Yeah.
on the proposal instead of that back and forth of like, well, what if we did this and what if we did that? They can just throw it all on there and let them pick what they want, and it just it just removes a lot of friction and time
Absolutely,
from
man.
that
Yeah, and
process.
if customers are trying to hit a certain budget rather than trying to, chat with you on the price about it, can we do something? They can just pick different options that work within their budget. Like I like
Yeah,
that. The switch to, as you said, that car configurator kind of model, man. It's switched from just like I'm getting sold to, oh, I'm actually just buying something now. So I
yeah,
can kind of choose it as I want kind of thing. That's sweet. Awesome, man. So cool. So to kind of like wrap up, man, I'd love to see like a quick little 5 minute demo of like a
sure,
platform with maybe some of like the high overview features here so the guys and gals at home can kind of see what you got going on.
absolutely.
Sounds wicked so far, man. As you're opening that up, man, just one kind of final question, man. How did you come up with the name Synced Up? Where did that come from?
Well, it kind of ended up with the frustration of us using multiple products to try to do one thing, which
Yeah,
was estimate and manage our jobs. And so our vision was let's build something that the whole team is synced up. And we kept on saying that term, like we want the whole
sure.
team, we want everybody synced up, cooking from the same pot. And yeah, it's just eventually it just stuck. That's what we ended up with.
Let's go. Cool, man. Sweet. Awesome. Fresh.
So this is the main dashboard. Are you able to see my screen?
Yes, sir. Rock
Okay.
and roll.
So on the high level, like this is the screen where you plug in every dollar your business spends, like all of your team members, how many hours they work in a year, how many hours they work that are they're paid, but it's on unbillable stuff, like maybe shop work or equipment maintenance or
Yeah.
whatever. And all your materials and equipment, all the equipment and trucks and trailers that you own are all in here. So there's an actual like annual cost to own calculated
Yeah.
on every piece of equipment subs, and then overhead. So this is where every little nitty gritty thing comes in here. Just, you know, if you're spending it, it's got to be in here. And then on the final tab, you can just plug in your desired, you know, profit margin, and it says, all right, fine. This is what you have to charge per man hour to
Cool.
produce that.
Nice and simple, man. That makes it easy, eh?
Yeah. So like right now on my screen it's showing $90.96 per hour. But let's say that I just opened up my mail and I got a new insurance bill and my insurance went up by another 5 grand. I
Yeah.
tweak that. I go back, I come back. Now I'm charging 91.60.
Cool.
You know, and so like the very next estimate that I'm sending out this afternoon is dialed. Like it's always in sync.
Man, that's lightning, man, for like estimators and people who are doing sales on the field there, man. That makes it like a no-brainer in terms of like
Yeah.
quoting out projects and you don't really ever have to worry if you're given the right price or not. So
Yep.
that's cool, man.
Exactly. And when you don't have to worry, man, like that's what gives you the confidence to stand there and say, my break even is this. I'm not going,
Yeah.
you know, it removes the temptation to self-sabotage.
Absolutely. No, absolute. Makes like forecasting a lot easier. It makes preparing for the hard times a lot easier.
Yep.
The amount of times we talk to people too as well, and I was like, yeah, so like, what'd you do this year, man? Just in terms of annual revenue, what's like the average cost per job that you do? And a lot of guys just don't know, man. Like they kind of just like it's tough, especially when you're starting out in the business, or even when you're a good way through, just to get like stuck in this like intuition train where you're just more of a hustler than you are a business person. And like tools like this, like really empower guys like that because it's not as difficult, unless you're building it yourself, like you went through the process of. It's affordable, man. It's gonna be such a big benefit to your business, and I can easily see.
Absolutely.
That's cool.
Yeah. Yeah. It's sometimes we struggle to get that messaging out there, but most companies spend about 4 or 5 grand a year with SynkedUp. You know, we see that turn into a 10x, sometimes even 20x and above return for their
Absolutely.
companies, you know. Just that just that first session part of the onboarding experience where we go through like every customer gets their financial coach assigned to them to help them populate this budgeting tool correctly. And in that first session, it's not uncommon for us to uncover, you know, I'm thinking of one guy, we uncovered 80 grand of expenses that he had never even accounted for on
Yeah.
his own pricing.
Mhm.
And so right there,
There you
he's
go.
already paid for what, 15 years of
Yeah,
software.
exactly, man. No, big time, man. In terms of this too as well, so you guys have obviously a desktop application. Do you guys have
Yeah,
like a mobile app too as well? Like how are like
we do.
cool.
Yeah, the mobile, and I don't have, I'm not prepared to like pull it up on my
Yeah,
screen and
yeah, no
show it to
sweat.
you, but yeah, we're actually in the middle of launching a new version. It's built to streamline time tracking for crew members significantly. So it's super excited about that right now. But the whole estimating portion of it, like this is how simple, let's say I do a patio. This is how simple it is to produce like your standard, $20,000 backyard
Uh-huh.
job. I'll come in here and I've got a new work area. It's all blank, nothing in it, but I'll open my catalog browser where all my products and what I paid for them are. I've got a template. I just drag and drop that template over and I've got everything I need to do
There
it.
you go.
I
Sweet, man.
type in my square footages and it calculates my material, labor, everything. And there you can see on the right my cost, my break even, my profit margin, total price. And so I got a price right there ready to go in
Yeah.
seconds.
Cool, man. I like it too. Like you have like the different toggles in terms, because I find like the process is where people can kind of get tripped up on, but you have like this work area is on hold, this work area has been
Yeah.
approved. So it seems like the in terms of making that communication very easy and simple
Yep.
was thought into that too as well, man. So
Yep.
that's
And then when you send out the proposal, you get to like define all of your payment schedules.
for sure.
The terms and conditions are all there. You can set out all your payment schedule. And then when they approve that, it'll automatically trigger the down payment, send the down payment to them. They pay it and it's ready to schedule and go on and go out to the team or schedule it to whoever you're going to schedule it to. And then the team has all that information right at their fingertips. And then as the team clocks in and out, here's their log of all of their visits. Like you can click into any one of these and see like the hours they worked, where they were when they clocked in. And all this is the stream of actual data, like actual labor and material that gets summarized on the costing and analysis tab.
Mhm.
So you can see like, hey, my estimated net profit was 20%, my actual was 22%.
Cool. Let's go.
And this is where the time analysis is like, hey, I estimated 251 hours on this whole job, took me 266 in actuality. Let me dig in. And you can see your greens and reds. And
Yeah.
now you can be like, well, dude, this is where I screwed up. Next time I estimate similar work, I'm not gonna, make the same mistake.
Big time. Is that kind of why the like with this new the new that you mentioned there earlier, like the mobile version with like the time tracking portion, I feel like we'll, you know, not to make a pun, will like sync very nicely with like this aspect here, like see
Yeah.
exactly like where these guys are losing money so they can keep making like very informed quotes,
Yep.
estimates, etc. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like what you want to do is build a process where your history informs your future.
Cool. Yeah.
So it's a self-healing process. If you screw up an estimate multiple times in a row, that's a team huddle. What's going on? Where are we getting this wrong? Let's fix it. And another point to make about that is if you don't do that, let me see if I can figure out how to stop this share. Here we go. If you don't do that, if you don't track and you never know when you're underbidding material or labor on a job, your first indication that you have a problem is going to be cash flow because you have no other indication to tell you that something's wrong other than
Big
you
time.
might know intrinsically, like from gut, to that, hey, I bid this was going to be a 5-day job. I know it took me 6. But aside from that, if you ignore that, the first thing that's going to be a problem that's going to force you to your hand is cash flow. You're running out of cash. And by that time, you're months downstream from the source of the problem.
Yeah, big time. That's when it's like
Yeah.
really, really a problem. Like that's
Yeah.
before, that's like a red, that's more than a red flag almost, man.
Yeah,
You got a sticky
exactly.
position there. Sweet, man.
And people underestimate, if there's one thing that I would want contractors to hear,
Hmm.
people underestimate how massive of a cost that unbillable labor or labor overruns are.
Absolutely.
Like it not only like let's say you go over on a job by 1 day twice a month. So, 3-day job went to 4 days, 7-day job went to 8 days. Let's say that happens twice a month. That's 2 days a month times, let's say, just for easy math, you have a 10-month working season.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
20 days in a year. That's an entire month of work that you're paying labor.
Yeah.
Nobody's covering your overhead but you. and you lost the opportunity to go off and do more work in that month of overruns.
100%.
So you pay for labor overruns 3 times.
Yeah,
It's probably the single most expensive thing that contractors overlook.
for sure. 100%, man. And when you look at like even like the pricing of your guys' software, some of the stories you talk about, like the guy, having $80,000 worth of unbillable expenses that weren't even accounted for there. Like the return on softwares like this, especially ones that are very geared towards like efficiency and just making sure that like everything is accounted for, like typically ROIs very, very quickly for
Yeah,
people there, man. So
yeah,
that's awesome there, man.
yeah.
For everyone listening, Weston, man, let's say this hits a landscaper or hardscaper or landscape. What's the best way to get in contact with you guys in terms of like website? We'll have details at the end of this video here too as well. But what's the best way to kind of move forward and like at least pique some interest into
Yeah.
informing you?
Just go to synkedup.com. It's spelled with a K, SYNKEDUP, all one word.com. And you can book a call with our team right there. We'll show you the product. We'll get to know you and your business, what problems you're trying to solve in your business. You can also DM me on Instagram. The handle's just at SynkedUp. And we'll have a conversation there if you'd like. And I'll give you, if you'd like, Chris, I can give you I have a quick and dirty little man-hour calculator, like just a little
Sweet.
tool to play with. I'll give you a link to that as well, just if you want to dabble with like, it's kind of sanity check what you're charging now versus what you think you might need to be charging.
100%.
So I'll give you that tool and you can put it in the show notes if you'd like.
Fresh. Awesome, man. Well,
Yeah.
appreciate you coming on to the pod, man. Looks like a wicked platform you got on, man. And anyone listening here, if you're really wanted to take it to the next level, like that's when you got to make sure you're accounting for everything that goes through your business. Synced Up looks like a fantastic platform. The show notes and the links will all be in the bottom of the description of this video. So thank you so much, Weston, for popping down for another episode of Tech and 30. And everyone listening, hope you have a great day and make sure to check up Synced Up at synkedup.com.
Peace.
Sweet man.